All right, we're going to talk about from conception to birth, the three prenatal stages. The way that we can remember the three prenatal stages is a sentence called grow ever faster. The G for germinal, E for embryonic, and F for fetal. So grow ever faster. So prenatal development, the normal amount of time that it takes from fertilization, from the egg being fertilized until birth, is 38 to 42 weeks. All that is considered normal. A lot of babies born around 40 weeks, but the baby can be born 38 weeks, and that's totally fine. 2 weeks after the 40 weeks, and that's fine as well. So it's normal is 38 to 42 weeks. Okay, let's go back to the different stages. Grow ever faster. The G is germinal. So the first stage is really all about the fertilization. You have the egg that becomes fertilized by the sperm. It creates a zygote, and then a lot of cell division is happening through mitosis. And this zygote is going to move down and implant into the mother's uterus. So during this first 2 weeks, a lot of mothers don't even know that they're pregnant yet. They have not missed their first period. So they don't even realize that they are pregnant. So maybe they might be drinking, smoking, being exposed to some harmful things. But the kind of safety net that's built in these first 2 weeks is that this zygote is not attached to the mother yet. So it's not going to, these teratogens, these harmful substances are not going to negatively impact that developing zygote nearly as much as it's going to have a negative effect once that zygote is implanted in the uterus and then the mother and the baby are connected. So this is like a 2-week safety net before the mother even really realizes that she's pregnant. The next stage is embryonic. So the first stage, germinal, it's just a little germ, it's just a little guy, it's a little zygote, it's a little fertilized egg that is dividing and dividing and dividing and becoming bigger and just really implanting into the uterus. Then embryonic is after those first 2 weeks. It is now considered an embryo, so it's 3 to 8 weeks. And during this time, there's a lot of organ development happening. During the embryonic period, there are a lot of critical periods. During this time of development of organs, a lot of things can go wrong, lung development, things of that sort. So this is considered a very critical period of prenatal development. And then the last stage of prenatal development is fetal, and it's called a fetus during this time, and that's from 9 weeks until birth. And really what's happening here is there's a lot more development of the organs. The organs start functioning, senses start functioning, a lot of growth. So really the germinal is all about this fertilized egg moving down and implanting into the uterus. Embryonic is a lot of organ development. And then fetal is a lot of growing and starting to functioning. Two different terms that are important to know about development, not just prenatal development, but also the way that infants develop. All right, the cephalocaudal principle says that we develop from our head to our toe, cephalocaudal, and proxima distal from our center outward. The way that I remember cephalocaudal is looking at the C. And the way that we make the C is starting from the top all the way to the bottom. You start and you make your C all the way from the top to the bottom. So you can think about how from the head, we develop from the head to the toe. So what the cephalocaudal is talking about is really how a lot of the first development happens in the brain, happens in the head. And if you look at this fetal growth, the head is huge in comparison to the body. The head is so big, and it continues to be so much bigger than the body. So a lot of development is happening from the head to the feet. Also, a baby's motor development follows the cephalocaudal principle, in that a baby is going to be able to lift its head, so have control over its neck, way before it's going to have control over its leg to the extent of being able to walk. So that's cephalocaudal, so developing from the head to the toes. Proxima distal principle says that we develop from the center outward. So whenever I look at the P in proxima distal, it looks like a pregnant belly of sorts. So we're developing, and when you make the P, we're developing from the center outward. And what this principle is talking about is how we learn to control our core muscles, our center, before we can really control, say, our feet and be able to walk, or our fingers and be able to draw. So we have more control over our center, proxima distal closeness, and then going outward. So we can roll over before we can control our fingers. We can control our center before we can control, say, walking, or our feet, our legs, being able to control our fingers, proxima distal. One last part is the period of fetus. The age of viability refers to when a baby or a fetus will be able to maybe live outside of a mother's womb. And there's some debate of this. It could be from 21 to 28 weeks of development.